Buckle up, everyone, because today we're diving headfirst into the world of electric vehicles.
EVs, that's right.
A revolution that's electrifying the auto industry and leaving no shortage of sparks along the way.
Absolutely. And whether you're a car aficionado or simply need to get around this shift is impacting us all.
Precisely. So let's peel back the layers of this complex story together using Mike Colias' book, InEVitable, How Tesla Sparked the EV Revolution.
We'll also weave in insights from Motor Trend, the Wall Street Journal, even the New York Times.
Consider those our trusty guides as we navigate from assembly lines to dealerships and ultimately your own garage.
We'll unpack the electrifying successes, those shocking roadblocks, and decipher what this transformation means for you, the listener.
Are we truly on the cusp of an all-electric future, or are we stuck in a cycle of hype?
Well, let's find out.
And we can't begin this exploration without addressing the elephant in the room, Tesla.
Love them or hate them, their disruption of the automotive industry is undeniable.
You can't deny that. Speaking of disruption, did you hear the story about Ford CEO Jim Farley?
Oh, you mean the one where he tore apart a Tesla Model 3 to understand their cost advantage?
That's the one. Reportedly, he even exclaimed, "I smelled bullshit."
Talk about competitive spirit, right?
That's putting it mildly. It highlights Farley's drive to not just comprehend Tesla's success, but to catch up.
It wasn't just Farley either. The stock market went wild for Tesla, even with low production numbers and profitability still years away.
Wall Street clearly saw an electric future, and that put immense pressure on the traditional automakers to adapt.
Absolutely, and we saw that pressure ignite a fire under companies like General Motors.
No, they had to. Remember their first attempt with the EV1?
Oh, the EV1, a PR disaster, leasing those cars only to reclaim and crush most of them.
Yeah, not their finest moment, and it certainly left a sour taste in the mouths of early EV enthusiasts.
But fast forward to present day, and you've got the grand unveiling of the Hummer EV.
With President Biden himself taking it for a spin, no less.
The symbolism of that moment can't be overstated. It signified GM's re-entry into the EV arena, but this time focused on power and performance.
And behind the wheel was Mary Barra, GM CEO, a woman who rose through the ranks and spearheaded their electric transformation.
Her leadership was marked by some pretty bold moves, even canceling a gas-guzzling Cadillac flagship to signal GM's commitment to electrification.
Speaking of powerful players, we can't overlook China. Their rise to EV dominance has been truly meteoric.
By 2022, they held around 60% of global EV sales and a staggering 75% of battery-making capacity.
That's a level of control that's hard to fathom. How did they establish themselves so firmly at the heart of this value chain?
Well, while the lithium-ion battery wasn't their invention, China strategically positioned itself.
So they weren't the pioneers, but they became the masters of the game.
Precisely, controlling the majority of raw materials and processing, a testament to their long-term vision.
And it's that kind of vision that has propelled companies like BYD to the forefront.
The very company Elon Musk initially dismissed.
Oh yeah, I remember that. He had to eat his words because BYD dethroned Tesla as the world's largest EV maker.
Their founder, Chuanfu Wang, began with batteries and built an empire attracting investment from Warren Buffett along the way.
An incredible journey and a reminder that underestimating your rivals can be costly.
Especially in a rapidly evolving market like this one.
Now let's shift our focus to Ford. Their path to embracing this electric shift has been, well, let's just say it's been a bumpy ride.
Imagine being Lem Young, a Ford engineer with a passion for gas engines, now facing an uncertain future as the industry pivots to electric.
It highlights the anxieties of countless workers in the auto sector grappling with this massive change.
And the impact ripples out even further. Think of the smaller suppliers, companies like PJ Wallbank Springs,
who relied on those gas engine components for their business. It underscores how this transition is reshaping a century-old ecosystem.
Not simply swapping out engines, but redefining the entire industry. It's a massive undertaking.
Speaking of transformations, how about Volkswagen? Talk about a company that went from the depths of the Dieselgate scandal to embracing EVs with a vengeance.
They really did go all in after that, a turning point not just for them, but for the entire industry.
Their decision to revive the iconic VW bus as the electric ID buzz was a brilliant move.
Absolutely, tapping into nostalgia while showcasing their commitment to a cleaner future.
And then you have Herbert Diess, VW's CEO at the time.
He had a very vivid way of describing Tesla's rise, likening it to a swarm of ants.
A swarm of ants, that's certainly an image.
It speaks to his understanding of the disruptive forces at play and the monumental challenges of this transition.
Challenges like charging infrastructure, which remains a major concern for many potential EV buyers.
A valid concern for sure, but there are some incredibly bright minds working on solutions.
One of those minds belongs to David Jankowski. He's installing high-speed charging stations in unconventional locations.
Unconventional, like rural Oklahoma, betting big on the future of long-distance EV travel and tackling that range anxiety head-on.
That's certainly a bold approach, considering most EV charging happens at home.
Taking advantage of cheaper electricity rates overnight, but there are those who don't have that luxury.
Exactly. People living in apartments, for example, and that's where innovators like Carter Lai come in.
With his company SWTCH, he's developing software to optimize charging for multiple residents, ensuring everyone gets a full charge while minimizing cost.
These are just a couple of examples that showcase the ongoing innovation, not just in the vehicles themselves.
But in the entire ecosystem that needs to be built around them.
Okay, so we've talked Tesla, GM, and this fascinating rise of China.
But we can't forget about Ford and Jim Farley. This man has a lifelong love affair with automobiles.
More than just a CEO, he's a genuine car enthusiast, right?
Absolutely. He spent his teenage years restoring cars, even rebuilt a Mustang engine by hand.
Wow. And then honed his skills at a shop owned by racing legend Phil Hill. His passion and knowledge run deep.
And that passion fueled the creation of Team Edison, a skunkworks team tasked with developing groundbreaking EVs.
The Mustang Mach-E and the F-150 Lightning, they were willing to take risks, and those risks paid off.
Especially with the F-150 Lightning electrifying America's best-selling vehicle, a stroke of genius.
But even with all these innovations, the road to an all-electric future hasn't exactly been smooth sailing.
We've seen a recent cooling in EV demand, Tesla slashing prices, unsold EVs piling up on dealer lots.
Remember Farley's reaction? What the hell happened?
A sentiment that many in the industry echoed. This slowdown has also impacted real buyers, people like Doug Heinzen.
He pre-ordered a Cadillac Lyriq, only to face price hikes and delays. It shows the growing pains of this industry.
The challenges of scaling production, managing those supply chains in a rapidly evolving market.
It's a reminder that even with ambitious goals and groundbreaking technology,
the road to an all-electric future is still paved with its fair share of obstacles.
But let's not end on a down note. There's plenty of innovation happening beyond Tesla, and this story is far from over.
BYD is continuing its global expansion, making inroads into Europe with an impressive lineup of new models.
A reminder that competition is fierce and the future of transportation is far from settled.
That leads to a very important question for you, the listener.
Will government regulations or market dynamics, or maybe a combination of both, drive this transition?
What role will you play in shaping this narrative?
Some thought-provoking questions as we navigate this thrilling, and let's be honest, bumpy road to an electric future.
Buckle up. It's going to be an interesting ride.
It certainly is. And speaking of breaking things down, before we move on, let's take a moment to distill everything we've learned so far.
That's an excellent idea. Let's recap those key insights from our exploration of the EV world.
Think of it as a quick pit stop to refuel your knowledge before we continue on this electrifying journey.
Sounds good to me. Let's highlight those key takeaways. It really is fascinating to witness this monumental shift unfold in real time, you know?
It is. You've got legacy automakers grappling with a century of tradition.
Startups like Rivian trying to disrupt the established order.
And then there's China looming large as this dominant force.
It's like a high-stakes game of chess, with everyone vying for position in this new era of mobility.
Exactly. And the competition goes beyond just market share.
It's about controlling the technology, the resources, and ultimately the future of transportation itself.
And speaking of resources, let's talk about lithium, that essential ingredient for all these batteries.
Lithium, it's become the new gold rush, but with far greater implications.
Because it's not just about finding enough of it.
It's also about how we extract it. Those traditional mining practices can be quite environmentally damaging.
Which has led to a search for more sustainable methods.
Exactly, and that's where innovation comes in. We've got this intriguing process called direct lithium extraction, or DLE.
DLE, so what's so special about this method?
Well, it uses significantly less land and water compared to conventional mining.
Okay, so it's a more environmentally friendly approach.
Precisely. It's like a very targeted approach, selectively extracting lithium from brine and minimizing that footprint.
Sounds promising, but is it actually being used on a large scale?
It's still early days, but it holds tremendous potential. And guess what? The Salton Sea in California.
The Salton Sea, often seen as an environmental disaster.
Well, now it's being viewed as a potential lithium gold mine.
Wow. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade.
The brine there contains a significant amount of lithium, and companies are racing to develop those DLE technologies to tap into it.
It's a great example of how necessity can drive some incredible innovations.
It's not just about extracting the lithium either. It's about establishing a robust and sustainable supply chain right here in the U.S.
That seems to be a priority for the Biden administration.
Absolutely. Reducing our reliance on foreign countries, especially China, is a key goal.
Both economically and politically, the Inflation Reduction Act incentivizes domestic battery production.
Not to mention those substantial tax credits for EVs assembled in North America.
Those tax credits are a big deal. Companies like GM are investing heavily in U.S.-based battery factories as a result.
Creating jobs, strengthening domestic manufacturing, it's a win-win.
And these battery factories are not small undertakings either. We're talking massive complexes requiring a huge amount of planning and coordination.
Billions of dollars are being poured into these projects. It's like building a mini city.
With its own power plants, water treatment facilities, and an army of skilled workers.
Speaking of skilled workers, the demand for electricians, carpenters, engineers, you name it, is through the roof.
It's fascinating how this EV revolution is not only transforming the auto industry,
But also reshaping the labor market and creating a demand for an entirely new skill set.
and we can't ignore the political dimension of all this either. It's becoming increasingly divisive.
You've got those who champion EVs as the solution to climate change.
And those who view them as a threat to traditional industries and American jobs.
It's a complex issue with valid points on both sides, and we've seen some pushback from politicians,
Some argue that the government is pushing EVs too aggressively.
especially with China's dominance in the battery supply chain. It raises concerns about national security and economic dependence.
It's a geopolitical chess match playing out on the world stage, that's for sure.
And while we're on the topic of disruption, let's not forget about the traditional car dealership model.
A model that's been around for a century and now faces some serious challenges.
EVs require less maintenance, which potentially cuts into those service revenues.
And with Tesla's direct-to-consumer approach, the role of dealerships in this new era is definitely being questioned,
It's a valid question. I mean, dealerships have been a cornerstone of the auto ecosystem.
providing sales, service, and community support.
Ah.
But now they need to adapt.
Some are embracing the change, investing in EV training and infrastructure.
While others are resisting, clinging to the familiar, it's a pivotal moment for them.
Their ability to adapt will be a major factor in the overall success of this EV transition.
Now let's talk about the EV buyers themselves. We're seeing a shift in demographics.
The early adopters were often driven by environmental concerns or fascination with technology.
But now you have people like William Chow, a 62-year-old accountant who bought a Tesla Model Y.
Not because he's an EV enthusiast, but because it's practical and affordable.
It signifies a maturing market where EVs are no longer a niche product, but a mainstream choice.
A sign that the transition is gaining momentum and reaching a broader audience.
With a greater variety of models hitting the market, from those budget-friendly compacts to those luxurious SUVs.
The appeal is widening, attracting buyers with a range of needs and preferences.
It's a really exciting time to be following this story. There are still so many unanswered questions.
Will this slowdown in demand be temporary, or is it a sign of something more?
Will the established automakers navigate this transition, or will they be overtaken by those agile startups?
What will the automotive landscape look like a decade from now?
It's a question that keeps industry experts and enthusiasts alike on the edge of their seats.
And for you, the listener, it's an invitation to stay engaged in this conversation.
To consider your own place in this rapidly evolving world of mobility.
So where do we go from here? We've journeyed through the triumphs and tribulations of this EV revolution.
Explore the technological advancements, the economic implications, and the political complexities.
It's a story of ambition, innovation, and disruption, with a cast of characters ranging from those visionary entrepreneurs to everyday drivers.
And it's a story that's still unfolding, the conclusion far from certain, but one thing is clear.
The shift to electric vehicles is inevitable.
As we move forward, it's important to remember that this isn't just about cars.
It's about the future of transportation, the health of our planet, and the choices we make as consumers and citizens.
It's a shared responsibility. The decisions we make today will determine the world we inhabit tomorrow.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but before we wrap things up, let's distill what we've learned into a 10-point summary.
A great idea. A concise way to recap the key takeaways from our exploration of the EV world.
It sounds like a plan. Let's dive into those 10 key insights. And the pace of this transformation, it's really quite remarkable, isn't it?
It is. I mean, just a few years ago, EVs were this niche market.
Now they're poised to become the dominant mode of transportation.
It's a true testament to human ingenuity, all those technological leaps we've witnessed.
From battery advancements to those self-driving capabilities, it's incredible.
It shows that change can happen quickly when you've got market forces, technological progress, and this growing need for sustainability all aligning.
It's not just about the tech, though. There's also a fundamental shift in consumer attitudes happening.
People are becoming more aware of their impact on the environment.
And EVs offer a tangible way to lessen that impact, right?
Absolutely. And the image of EVs has evolved too. They're no longer those quirky, eco-friendly cars.
Now they're sleek, high-performance machines that can really appeal to a broader audience.
And that shift in perception is crucial. When EVs are seen as desirable and practical.
They become a much more compelling alternative to those gas guzzlers.
But amidst all this excitement, we can't lose sight of the challenges that still lie ahead.
The road to widespread EV adoption won't be without its bumps, that's for sure.
We've talked about the need for charging infrastructure, those complexities of battery production.
And let's not forget about those political and economic factors at play.
It's a multifaceted challenge that requires a lot of cooperation.
Between governments, automakers, energy providers, and consumers, everyone needs to be on board.
And this isn't just a national challenge, it's global.
Countries like China and many European nations are making huge strides in EV adoption.
The competition is definitely heating up, and the stakes are high.
It's not just about economic dominance anymore. It's about shaping the very future of mobility.
And ensuring a more sustainable future for everyone.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the EV world, let's leave you with one final thought.
Okay, what's that?
This transition to electric vehicles, it's not simply a story about cars.
It's more than that.
It's about human progress, about our ability to adapt, innovate, and overcome those obstacles.
And ultimately, it's a story that we're all a part of now.
The choices we make today will shape the course of this revolution, so...
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing for that brighter, more sustainable future.
Now, as promised, let's recap everything we've covered with that 10-point summary.
A nice, concise way to crystallize those key takeaways.
All right, number 1, Tesla's disruptive impact on the industry forced those traditional automakers to take EVs seriously.
Essentially making this whole transition inevitable.
Number 2, GM's journey, from those early missteps with the EV1 to their comeback with the Hummer EV.
It highlights how even established companies are evolving and embracing this electric future.
Number 3, China's dominance in the EV value chain, controlling much of the battery production and raw materials.
It underscores that this revolution is global in nature.
Number 4, BYD's rise to becoming the world's largest EV maker, even surpassing Tesla.
A testament to the competitive landscape and the emergence of those new industry leaders.
Number 5, those challenges faced by traditional automakers, like Ford.
Adapting their workforce, their supply chains, it shows just how complex this transformation really is.
Number 6, Volkswagen's transformation from the Dieselgate scandal to fully embracing EVs.
Signaling a turning point not just for them, but for the entire industry.
Number 7, the importance of expanding charging infrastructure, making it accessible for everyone.
Whether it's for those long road trips or for people living in apartments.
Without it, widespread adoption just isn't possible.
Number 8, Jim Farley's passion for cars and his leadership at Ford.
Showcasing how vital visionary leaders are in driving this transition forward.
Number 9, the recent slowdown in demand. A reminder that the path to an all-electric future isn't always linear.
There will be bumps along the way.
And finally, number 10. Even with those challenges, the EV revolution continues to evolve.
With those new models, those battery advancements, and new players like BYD emerging.
The future of transportation is cleaner, more efficient, and constantly evolving.
The road ahead will be full of both opportunities and challenges, but one thing is certain.
The world of transportation is transforming before our very eyes.
And understanding the forces at play is crucial for navigating this electrifying new era.
It certainly is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of EVs.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
And until next time, keep those wheels turning and stay curious about the future of transportation.